Look, good games come in all shapes and sizes. You got bigger games and you got smaller games. And quite often, it seems the smaller games are actually the ones you just need to play, maybe even more so than the big ones. Hi folks, it's Mac, and today on this list, 18 new short games you need to play. And when I say short, I mean maybe less than 2 days it takes to beat them. Anyway, let's get started. First on the list, we have Tales of Iron 2, Whiskers of Winter. Now, I played the original Tales of Iron, but think of this as like Rat Souls type games, but they really upped their game for the second one. They're just like smash it out more of the park than the first game. And to be completely honest, while I have that as a reference point, it's something of nothing here because I just really recommend playing Tales of Iron 2. You don't really need to play the first one. I mean, if you don't know at all what you're doing controller-wise, it's going to be a little bit of a bumpy start in the very beginning. But these aren't complex games, so it's not like you need that first game as a tutorial. The storyline is good on its own, and what you get is more significant than the first game in most every way. Graphically, the characters, the animations on them, and the enemies and the environments, everything looks fantastic. But on top of that, what we've got here is some rather large environments, a really good sense of community in the story it's trying to tell. You do a lot of the help the village, build them up type of missions that, yeah, on paper, it could get tedious, but that's not the stuff that you're going to these games for. It's just arena-based, Souls-style fights, and they feel brutal. The combat in this game is great. Tons of weight of different types. Even just the basic attacks are fun. On top of that, the different bosses you fight are fun and challenging, and you really do find yourself getting good at this game. And by the time you've gotten towards the end, you feel like a powerhouse that can just take on anything. All in all, Whiskers of Winter is a blast. If you haven't played the first Tales of Iron, like I said, you don't have to, you're going to be fine, and you're going to enjoy this game a lot. Now, over at number 17, we have Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. Personally, I feel like a lot of people only play modern Ninja Gaiden games. If you haven't played the originals on NES, then Ninja Gaiden Ragebound is going to seem like something out of left field. And also, I'm going to make a guess here and say that if you've played Blasphemous, you're going to be expecting Ninja Gaiden Ragebound to be something in a similar ballpark in terms of gameplay. This is not the Game Kitchen's second Blasphemous. This is an ultra-smooth, responsive, slash-your-enemies type of side-scroller. It does harken back to the original Ninja Gaiden NES games in that you're almost going to be using enemies as platforms at various points in time. In fact, they took that concept and expanded it to have a much larger range of usefulness, and it really is central to the game. Also, where Blasphemous can be a little bit of a doomer slug, Ninja Gaiden Ragebound is a fast action type of game. I mean, there really is no other way of putting it. Anyway, this is not a sequel of the other Ninja Gaiden games, but rather a spin-off where you control Kenji Modzu, a young ninja trained by the legendary Ryu Hayabusa, and Komori, a skilled kunoichi from the rival Black Spider clan. Now, while Ryu journeys to America to fulfill his father's will, a shattered barrier unleashes a demonic army on Hayabusa Village. Kenji and Komori, forced into an unlikely alliance and sharing a body through forbidden power, must combine their skills to battle demons and prevent the Demon Lord from seizing control of the world. This 2D side-scrolling adventure blends classic Ninja Gaiden gameplay with modern polish, delivering a thrilling tale of duty, rivalry, and supernatural chaos.
I did find you an entrance though.
Oh yeah? Where to?
Administration.
Next, over at number 16, we have Still Wakes the Deep, Siren's Rest. Now, it's going to be hard to talk about Siren's Rest without spoiling some of Still Wakes the Deep. So, if you haven't finished Still Wakes the Deep and you care about spoilers, I mean, this isn't going to spoil a ton, but it does touch on the ending, so look away for a little while. Siren's Rest takes place after the events of the original game. It's a direct successor featuring a brand new character, the daughter of one of the workers on the oil rig, who wants to know what happened to her father. As you know, at the end of Still Wakes the Deep, the sacrifice made by sinking the oil rig stopped a catastrophic threat from reaching our world, but it came at a heavy cost. Everything and nearly everyone ended up at the bottom of the ocean. I'm keeping things a bit vague to preserve some mystery in case you haven't played the first game. The original is a fantastic game, and this Siren's Rest DLC is more of that same eerie, immersive experience. Time-wise, you're looking at about 2 to 3 hours depending on how much you explore. You're investigating the remains of the sunken oil rig at the bottom of the ocean, searching for closure about your father's fate. Now, if Still Wakes the Deep proves one thing, you won't get a lot of closure because you're dealing with the unknown, but that's kind of what makes it fun.
This is like some sort of wicked pick-a-card game.
What?
Coming in at number 15, we have Karma, The Dark World, a first-person psychological thriller that'll mess with your head in the best way possible. On the surface, it might look like a walking simulator with some puzzles, but trust me, this game is way more than that. It's a tense, moody roller coaster that blends chilling atmosphere, a few well-placed jump scares, and a story so layered it'll leave you questioning what's real. Set in an alternate 1984 East Germany, you're plunged into a dystopian nightmare ruled by the Leviathan Corporation. Not quite Big Brother, but a sinister megacorp with its own all-seeing AI, watching your every move through surveillance, propaganda, and mind-altering drugs. You play as Daniel McGovern, a Rome agent for Leviathan's Thought Bureau, tasked with diving into the minds of suspects to uncover their secrets. Think of it like rummaging through someone's psyche. Part detective work, part psychological invasion, piecing together memories, traumas, and truths in surreal, nightmarish environments that shift between gritty reality and Lynchian delirium. This isn't just walking and puzzling. You'll solve clever, environment-based puzzles, sneak past or flee from horrifying entities, and make choices that ripple through the narrative. The game weaves themes of control, identity, and trauma, drawing inspiration from 1984, Twin Peaks, and Silent Hill, but it carves its own path. It's not perfect. Some puzzles can frustrate without enough hints, and the pacing drags in spots, but if you're into psychological horror or story-driven games that challenge your perception, Karma will grip you for its maybe 6 to 10 hour runtime and linger long after. And at number 14, we have Wheel World. I'm not really sure how to describe it, but simply picture waking up in a lush forest, finding out that you're part of some cycling revolution against an evil corporate empire. Instead of a rusty weapon, you get a rusty bike and a mission to reclaim legendary bike parts stolen from Scully, a ghostly bike demon, to restore its power and save the universe. The premise of Wheel World might sound wacky, and it is, but at its core, this is an enchanting, chill cycling game. You race against rival cyclists, complete challenges, and explore the open world to earn reputation and upgrade your bike's stats and enhancing your performance in thrilling races. The racing itself is surprisingly satisfying, with a manageable learning curve as you get used to leaning into turns and using slipstreams. Crashes can be frustrating, that sometimes even setting you back in races due to inconsistent collision physics, though the vibrant soundtrack keeps the mood upbeat. The game offers a few tricks like bunny hops and boosts, adding flair to competitive races against rival gangs, which are often spiced up with humorous narrative stakes, making each race feel distinct and engaging. The game is brimming with humor and weird vibes in a way that reminds me a lot of something like The Artful Escape. It's a bit on the short side, around 5 hours if you breeze through it, but the experience is enjoyable enough to make it worth replaying just for the thrill of the ride. So, if you're looking for a cycling game that's more about fun and goof than simulation, Wheel World is a chill ride that's easy to recommend. Coming in at number 13, we have RoboCop, Rogue City, Unfinished Business, a standalone sequel/expansion to RoboCop, Rogue City that brings back everything you love about the series. Once again, playing as the heavily armored Alex Murphy, aka RoboCop, you're almost single-handedly taking on a massive criminal conspiracy. The game follows Rogue City's existing formula, mixing combat, investigation, and talking with locals into a first-person shooter that plays kind of like one of those old mid-2000s shooter games. Unfinished Business retains the spirit of its predecessor, capturing the gritty world of crime, presenting RoboCop with lots of opportunities to look cool with his particular brand of half-man, half-machine justice, while mixing in serviceable shooting mechanics. It's also quite humorous, offering moments of levity with the wide range of people and vending machines and crazy stuff you can come across as you explore. At around 8 hours, it's a good amount of content, and its blend of action, humor, and crime solving makes it one of the better shooters of the year. Just to be clear, there is no revolutionary here, and it does not really fix the bare bonesness of the original. But what it does really well is kicking some ass. And what I like the most about it, it's short. It's not all build up and then it ends. It's boom, straightforward, right to the get up, let's do the thing, and then you're done, and you walk away happy.
Good morning.
Next on the list, we have Eriksholm, The Stolen Dream. This is one angsty stealth game. Featuring a rich narrative, great voice acting, and some of the better uses of Unreal Engine 5 metahuman models, it introduces you to Hannah, a young woman looking for her brother after he mysteriously vanishes. Armed with a blow dart gun and some sedative darts, she sneaks around 19th century style Northern Europe, creeping through moody towns and landscapes over the course of 8 hours or so, and it's honestly a fantastic joy. Unlike a lot of narrative-heavy games in this kind of vein, Eriksholm stands out with really fun gameplay on top of the narrative. Stealth is primarily about navigating these kind of guard-heavy locations, getting from point A to point B without triggering alarms or getting caught. The game has a good system, good design, and some unique mechanics that expand as the game progresses. The story is the real highlight though. It's well written, it's intriguing, and the voice acting is really top-notch. From a visual perspective, the character models are fantastic. I mean, you can tell they're using Unreal's metahuman tech, but they do it skillfully, employing it to create scenes that are really well directed and animated. It is an impressive little game that you should definitely check out. Moving to number 11, we have The Drifter. When it comes to point-and-click adventure games, it doesn't get much better than this. Love it or hate it, you're going to have to admit The Drifter stands out. It's not what we usually get in a genre that's mostly, these days, at least retro nostalgia driven. The Drifter tells the story of Mick Carter, who's gone from homeless drifter to some kind of tinfoil conspiracy hero who just wants to get to his sister's place for the funeral of someone, if not everyone, in the family. The game is kind of like B-movie batshit, but extremely well executed batshit. Everyone's dialogue is well acted, the music really gets the mood going, and oh yeah, the puzzles are pretty damn fantastic too. The game opens with Mick hitching a train car into a chilly but atmospherically lit city. His train cart mate ends up very dead, and before long, he's on the run from these mysterious guys in sinister black vehicles. From there, it just gets weirder with visions and heaps of conspiracies on top of the adventure game kind of inventory puzzles and weird interactions with goofy locals that are the bread and butter of the genre. It's 7 to 9 hours of good adventuring, and it's easy to recommend to fans of the genre, but it's also just weird and interesting enough that if you're new to point-and-click adventures, it's not going to alienate you or gross you out because it's so old school. And at number 10, we have a game about digging a hole. Well, I guess you already know what this game is all about. The title already says it all, right? In this game, you're just a dude who's bought a house, sees an ad saying that there's treasure buried in the backyard, and then buys a weird autonomous shovel, and then you dig. You dig a lot of holes. You dig a big hole, you just dig. So basically, you're a digger here. Now technically, it's an incremental game. The more valuable materials you find, the better you can upgrade your shovel, battery, lights, and eventually get some dynamite to really make that digging a whole lot easier. You have to be careful about your battery so your shovel doesn't explode, but thoroughly, that's it. Your one job is to dig. There is something down in the hole, but the game deliberately takes a while to get to it. It is worth uncovering, but honestly, the act of just progressively turning your backyard into a sea of dirt is pretty fun, even without a proper payoff. There's technically an ending, but this is not a game about content, it's just a game about the vibes. It takes a theme of making an idle game, one of just raw progress, and it just applies it to digging a big hole. And honestly, it's one of those universally fun activities. I mean, we've all made virtual holes in games before, but this is a game about just making those big virtual holes, almost satisfying an itch that some people have had since childhood. You want a straightforward game that only takes a few hours to finish? A game about digging a hole is what you need.
Oh man, I gotta call my wife.
Coming in at number 9, we have Deliver at All Costs. The best way to describe this game, I would say, is wacky. It's definitely a game of contradictions. On one hand, it's about the rather mundane-sounding task of being a delivery guy, but on the other hand, it's really ridiculous in its execution. You play as Winston Green, a man who is just trying to survive in an alternate 1959 America as a delivery, but with some really good tricks on his sleeve. The game features a rather distinct look and is mostly driven by simple conversation-type scenes, and in some cases, fully animated cutscenes that look kind of like a motion comic, but in the gameplay, it's an open-world isometric driving game. The main appeal of Deliver at All Costs is the emergent physics-driven driving which allows for chaos, speed, and wanton destruction as you drive your big, brainy delivery van all around the city. The game's actually kind of cool in that regard. It's chill, the driving is fun, the little optional objectives like collecting cash bundles are fun to go after, and the story is humorous and nice and light, and it almost kind of feels like a Saturday morning cartoon from the 2000s. Not everything is perfect. The driving physics don't always work, and the visual presentation, depending on your taste, could be a little on the cheap side. But for an 8-hour-ish game to just kind of shut your brain off and relax, what it does pretty well. It has a unique premise, the soundtrack is really great, the art style is memorable, and the storytelling is at times very funny. Its biggest crime is just being slightly too simple at times, but that's not such a bad thing because this is great in contrast to some other big games you might be playing. Next on the list, we have Lost in Random, The Eternal Die, a fast-paced action roguelite that's also a spin-off from the 2021 game Lost in Random. Think of this game like a mini Hades with its own unique tone, with a little more macabre, a lot more dice, but it basically is kind of doing a lot of the same things. You take on the role of the first game's antagonist, Queen Alexandra, trapped in an endless cycle of death and rebirth in the Night Realm as she's forced to replay the fate of her kingdom again and again. Your goal then is to stop this curse once and for all. You make runs, you fight through a series of procedurally generated areas, and with each run, new characters, weapons, and items are unlocked, allowing for different gameplay strategies and progression. And yeah, again, very Hades, right? Old game looks, very Tim Burton-y, even though it's more gameplay heavy than the original Lost in Random. Its narrative and aesthetic are really the main draws of this game. Tons of bizarre and colorful characters inhabiting this really over-the-top, unsettling world. Like I said, Macabre Wonderland describes the surroundings with eerie forests, dreamlike places, and plenty of bizarre creatures. Mechanically, it's unique for a combat game. The Eternal Die blends real-time action with card-based abilities, equipping one card at a time to gain powerful abilities and using upgradable weapons to battle enemies, enhanced by a strategic relic system. It is only around 8 or 9 hours to beat it, which makes it a fun little romp with a lot of character.
Slimy, moist, and oozy. I like it. My eyepiece is fogging.
Coming up next, it's Revenge of the Savage Planet. I loved the original game, so I immediately jumped into this, the sequel. Revenge of the Savage Planet is an exploration-based shooter that places you in the role of a corporate employee tasked with investigating strange alien worlds, equipped with weapons and gadgets, which of course is all available to upgrade. Initially, the game might seem like another open-world shooter burdened with items to collect, skill trees, and things that can get repetitive. However, what makes the game so engaging is the exploration. You have to explore to upgrade, and as much as that can get old sometimes, in Revenge of the Savage Planet, I really enjoy it. It's all just so satisfying. The shooting is actually pretty good too. It benefits from pretty forgiving auto-aim, like the stuff you normally expect from third-person games. Yep, that's what the game is like right now. Instead of the first-person view from the original, they went with a third-person perspective for this one, which personally I much prefer. Every world, be it the desert-like or something like a dinosaur world, has its own theme, as does every enemy. Honestly, the way they present everything, it pretty much ensures you'll want to explore beyond what's necessary. You'll just want to see what they want to show you. With its wacky humor, chunkiness in the shooting, chill nature, co-op, and its satisfying progression system, it's easy to recommend at 12 hours, maybe more if you really soak it all in. Next on the list, at number 6, we have Sea of Stars, Throes of the Watchmaker. This is one of those great expansions that really adds to the base game by fixing some of its biggest flaws. Don't get me wrong, Sea of Stars is a fantastic game, but the one thing most everyone agrees with, a lot of the characters didn't get enough development in the base game. That's one of the biggest things on the plate here in Throes of the Watchmaker. Zale and Valeria's characters are actually explored more. The plot gives them some much-needed development while also delivering what you loved or hated about the original game. Its modern take on classic JRPG gameplay. There have been a lot of solid DLCs this year, and Throes of the Watchmaker is probably near the top of the list. It's got around 8 hours of gameplay, and all of it is also free. It's post-game content, so it's geared towards players who have finished the main game. Still, it's more of that same level of quality, design, and gameplay that made the original great without the pacing issues or lack of character development that helped make it feel kind of empty in the second half. Throes of the Watchmaker mostly tells a self-contained story, dives deeper into the lore of the world, and redeems the main characters, at least for me, who, I didn't really dislike, but they kind of left me a little cold, thanks to being kind of blank slates in the main game. Anyway, this is a really must-play game in my opinion. Again, this DLC is free, but you need to have the base game in order to play it.
Dreadful was the day when the sun vanished.
Next, over at number 5, we have The Midnight Walk, a first-person narrative-driven game that's both delightful and chilling at the same time, at least atmospherically. The game follows the journey of the Burn One, a mysterious being who, along with her adorable flaming companion named Potboy, embarks on a journey to rekindle the ancient flames of warmth and light in this world that has lost its sun. With striking visuals and exploration-esque gameplay, you solve environmental puzzles and sneak past all kinds of nasty spirits as you make your way through this dark but very fanciful gothic world. The main hook of the game is its stop-motion style presentation. Every model in the game was sculpted by hand, scanned into a 3D environment, and then properly animated to recreate the look of stop-motion animated films from the 90s and early 2000s, but updated for the modern times. The result is a warm, charming atmosphere that'll suck you in, and when it adds a little of that Burton-esque darkness into the mix, it gives it a bit of that haunting edge. Narrator work is great and adds to the game's storybook presentation, but for me, it's the game's warm, honestly kind of jazz-inspired soundtrack with smooth clarinets and saxophone melodies that really keep the vibe in this game. It's a pretty short game, about 7 hours or so, maybe more or less depending on our context, but it's a strong and memorable experience. On one hand, extremely heartwarming, on the other, genuinely unsettling.
He's on the field. Clean him out.
Coming in next, at number 4, we have FBC Firebreak. This is a weird, wonderful, cooperative shooter from the developers over at Remedy. This is their first venture into multiplayer games, and yeah, there's definitely some growing pains here, but there's no mistaking the creativity and inventiveness on display here. But in some ways, it doesn't remind me of Remedy. It reminds me of Valve, specifically Left 4 Dead. It's very much one of those types of games, but it has its own weird little charms. It's a cooperative 3-player, first-person, mission-based game that alternates between shooting waves of enemies and these bizarre little puzzle jobs you'll have to complete, but you do them all at the same time, so there's no time to catch your breath. It does retain a bit of that formula from games like Left 4 Dead, with exciting run-to-the-exit type moments while some thrilling music plays, but it's all intermingled with Remedy's particular brand of humor, occasionally bizarre game mechanics, and a lot of layers. FBC Firebreak is a multiplayer game set in the world of Control, but it doesn't really have a whole lot to do with anything else. It gives you some of that signature weirdness, but it's fast-paced, very kinetic, and very unpredictable. It's deeper, higher quality, and more interesting than most multiplayer shooters, even if it sometimes loses its footing a little bit. But I think Remedy is going to keep polishing this one. Regardless, if you've got some pals to play with, this is a solid game to play for a few hours.
Wait, what's happening? Teddy? Can you see me?
Now down at number 3, we have Out of Sight, and this is a cool, unique one. This is a stealth horror game that is played through the eyes of a child. The premise is that you play as Sophie, a little girl who is kidnapped, and while she may be blind, she has this stuffed toy that she can see through the eyes of. So you both must figure out a way to escape together. It's moody and kind of inspired by those Grimm's fairy tales, that old school horror childhood stories that we see pop up a lot in games. It plays like one of those old school PlayStation 1 style 3D platformer thingies, but it's built around stealth, puzzles, and exploration. Sophie is basically helpless, although she can manipulate or push some things, and it's through perspective that she uses as a unique power to get through all the different environments and avoid the evil people looking to keep her locked up while exploring this large manor. Adding to the old school horror feel is the deliberately old-looking graphics, which might turn some people off, but Out of Sight has a storybook aesthetic that's ultimately very charming despite its scariness. This is very much one of those indie games that manages to create a big, cinematic, thematic, or whatever they're trying to do with the bare minimum of resources. It is fairly short, about 2 hours or so, but it is such a tightly constructed, distinctive little experience. It is definitely something a lot of other games don't really do nowadays. Next on the list at number 2, we have Warhammer 40k Space Marine Mastercrafted Edition. After 2024's fantastic Space Marine 2, the original is now back with this version. This is the 2011 game remastered for modern consoles by the same developers at Saber Interactive. Now, I don't feel comfortable calling this remaster an absolute remake, but this one, it is pushing it. This isn't just the same old game, it's a lot of new stuff, from the resolution being beefed up to full 4K and all the textures getting a serious upscaling, to the entire set of character models getting a complete overhaul and a brand new animation system, plus new audio effects and a generally higher level of production values across the board. The game is basically retrofitted with modern technology. Honestly, they've really done a fantastic job. Pretty much everything is improved here, and I can't deny that it's now a really beautiful game. What stays the same is the core gameplay and grimdark tone here, with epic battles against endless hordes of orcs and the forces of chaos. Even for a 2011 game, the controls here are actually pretty modern, so it still feels good to play. That being said, it's also not the longest game on this list. Still, despite the campaign length, this game is absolutely worth playing for Warhammer fans or shooter fans who just want something different, or just frothing at the mouth nerds like me who can't stop playing games. Finally, at number 1, we have Peak, a multiplayer survival climbing game where you and up to 3 other players try to summit a procedurally generated and pretty dangerous mountain. While it's one of those multiplayer survival games, this one is incredibly focused. Your one and only goal is to reach the top of the mountain in one piece. The game is just a simple concept executed very well, and it's a lot less frustrating than it looks. It can border on relaxing, but of course the world is constantly trying to make you fall off, and there are ways you can screw over your friends. Hunger saps your stamina, and dangerous environmental effects like freezing or fire can quickly turn a dangerous area into a death trap. There's a surprising amount of strategy here. You have to really observe your surroundings to be prepared, and that means searching corpses and suitcases for clothes and other makeshift items to help you survive. All of it, in the game's lo-fi stylized graphics, instantly calls back to a simpler era of games, while still being an interesting, complex thing that truly rewards you as you play it more. Despite being a simple premise and fairly simple visuals, there's a surprising amount of depth in Peak, at least compared to a lot of these survival adventure games. If you want to explore a world, stay alive, and solve short-term problems without a lot of busy work or hand-holding, this is a game that is absolutely worth a look. It is fantastic with friends, where all of the social stuff and interaction mechanics lead themselves to goofy and fun moments.